welcome to a special rabbit trail episode of Annotation of the Dead. As we're going through the lyrics, I thought it might be cool to throw out some side episodes here and there to go dig deeper into the history of the band beyond description. As I was preparing the next episode for the lyrics of Mindbender, I realized that there wasn't a whole lot of lyrics and not really a whole lot of info to build an episode. So this episode is going to kind of go over the history just a little bit of when the Grateful Dead were called the Warlocks, and even more briefly when they called themselves the Emergency Crew. So let's get right into the history of the Warlocks and the Emergency Crew. All right, now I trust that some of you out there are just now beginning your journey down the long, strange trip, so let's explain who the Warlocks were. The Warlocks were formed in Palo Alto, California, at the end of 1964 when Jerry Garcia, Ron Pigpen McKiernan, and Bob Weir, who were all members of Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions, decided that they wanted to play electric music. It has been kind of noted in some interviews that was very much due to the influence of Beatlemania hitting the United States. They added a rhythm section, namely Dana Morgan Jr. on bass and local drummer Bill Kreitzman. The first Warlock performance was in Magoo's Pizza Parlor in Menlo Park, California on May 1965. After a handful of performances, Phil Lesh replaced Dana Morgan on bass. The Warlocks played at mostly local venues through the summer and early fall of the year. The Warlocks, using the name The Emergency Crew, recorded one demo session for Autumn Records in early November 1965. The music from this session was not officially released at the time, but has appeared on subsequent collections. At around the same time, they discovered that there was at least one other group in the country using the Warlocks name. The Warlocks played their final show in November of 1965, and thereafter adopted the name The Grateful Dead. For the occasional show in later years, the Grateful Dead were billed as the Grateful Dead, formerly the Warlocks. At the end of 1965, there was excitement in the budding San Francisco music scene. The Jefferson Airplane had just signed a record deal in November. Bill Graham was getting ready to put on shows at a dance hall he called the Fillmore West, and the Merry Pranksters were cooking up some kind of special test for the freaks in the area. The Warlocks, however, were not going to be part of this party. At the end of October, Phil Lesh found a Columbia record by a band of the same name. Although a record by such a band has never been found, a new name for the San Francisco-based Warlocks was indeed a must. Easier said than done. When the group arrived at Golden Gate Studios on November 3rd to produce the aforementioned demo tape, they were still without a name. On the fly, they called themselves the Emergency Crew, and cut a tape under that moniker. It's the first studio recording of the Grateful Dead. The track list is as follows: Early Morning Rain, I Know You Rider, Mindbender, The Only Time Is Now, Caution, Do Not Step on Tracks, Do Not Stop on Tracks, and finally, Can't Come Down. According to Grateful Dead author Blair Jackson, the Emergency Crew cut 6 songs that afternoon, 4 originals and 2 cover tunes. Garcia sang lead on only one song, Can't Come Down, a Dylan-inspired number in which Jerry raps verses such as the following: They say I've begun to lose my grip, my hold on reality is starting to slip. It ain't Dylan or Robert Hunter, for that matter, but at least it's an attempt to put into words some of the feelings and attitudes of the early psychedelic age. And the music isn't bad either. Pigpen blows harp with zest and power all through the tune. Billy drives the track with a sure, steady beat, and Garcia gets in a nice, speedy guitar run as the song fades at the 3-minute mark. Mindbender, also known as Confusion's Prince, is dominated by a guitar riff that sounds as if it were lifted off Johnny Rivers' Secret Agent Man, and the group's vocal weaknesses are clearly brought to the fore. Phil and Bob's tandem lead vocals is anemic and slightly off-pitch, and the harmonies are ragged, to put it charitably. Instrumentally, Pigpen's piercing Vox Continental organ predominates, though Garcia also gets in a fine solo. The next track, The Only Time Is Now, with Phil's vocal again highest in the mix, has an unmistakable Birds quality to it, complete with heavy vibrato on Garcia's guitar and stacked harmonies that the emergency crew couldn't pull off if their lives depended on it. Phil Lesh adds this about the songs. We had also started to collaborate on some original material, since the general consensus was that we'd never evolve very far if we just kept covering other people's stuff. We had to learn a lot from listening to the Rolling Stones, going so far as to cover some of their covers, and Bob Dylan songs were a major source of inspiration as well as material for our sets. Songs like Mindbender, The Only Time Is Now, and I Can't Come Down were our first essays in collective originality. Alas, all of them were embarrassingly amateurish, so they didn't last long in the repertoire. Now, the songs themselves, they do sound very little like the Dead that we would grow to know and love, but there are definitely hints of what's to come. Listening to I Know You Rider, it definitely feels like Jer is about to bust into a classic Rider jam. Pig's harmonica playing on Caution gives a vibe of the inspiration the band would be known for in later years. This is completely pre-vintage Dead, like primordial ooze that will evolve into multicellular jam band gods. It's the band beyond description, just beginning its evolution. The tracks to this recording can be heard on the album Birth of the Dead, and they are listed as the Autumn Sessions. Now, just as a little extra rock and roll trivia for those curious, there is currently a band performing as the Warlocks, who are an American rock band that formed in Los Angeles, California in 1998. The band's music has ranged from psychedelic rock to drone music, and it's definitely worth your time checking out. Go ahead, give them a listen to. You can find them on Spotify, YouTube, and the like. There's also apparently a Norwegian hip-hop trio called Warlocks, but that's not really my style, so I haven't checked them out. But if you do, let me know what you think of them in the comments. Alright, kids, that's it. It's just a short little rabbit trail to give you some behind the scenes of what was going on in the Dead's life in this period in 1965. I'll be back in a few days or a week or so with another episode, and we'll get right back into the lyrics. Again, if there's anything you want to add to this video or any songs you want to talk about or any extra trivia that you know surrounding the Warlocks and Emergency Crew era, I would love for you to share them in the comments so we can discuss further. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you want to hit the like button, that would be super cool. Or if you want to share it with another Deadhead that you think would have something to chime in about our conversation, that'd be pretty rad too. And as always, if you are so inclined, I would appreciate a little bit of a subscription to my YouTube, because that would be pretty rad as well. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I do appreciate the fact that you took the time to watch it, and as always, stay grateful.